Good morning. I'm Baiba Braže, Latvia's Foreign Minister. It's good to be back at NATO. And today we have quite a tough agenda, which will be continued tomorrow. The main issue for us is obviously strengthening NATO, strengthening transatlantic bond, making sure that deterrence defense of NATO is as viable as it has been for 76, 77 years. Tomorrow is NATO's birthday, so a big day, I think, for all of us. For NATO, it's pretty straightforward. The KPI of success is keeping peace and security that NATO has been able to keep for 76 years among allied nations and for the protection of 1 billion citizens. We are stronger than ever. Sweden and Finland has been fully integrated, both in military terms, in NATO, 32 allies strongly together. US commitment unshakable. I look forward seeing Secretary Rubio again. We were in Washington last week for a serious conversation. We'll continue it here. Support to Ukraine, to self-defense of Ukraine is a second priority for us. So we look forward discussing with Minister Baiba how we can best support Ukraine's legitimate self-defense. And of course, Indo-Pacific partners are as important as ever for all of us. Because the challenges to global security don't limit themselves to the US or Europe. It's not just Euro-Atlantic security. We are all connected. We see it in the war in Ukraine, but we see it in cyberspace. We see it in coercive behavior by China in the Indo-Pacific. So all those challenges to us as states, but also to our citizens, are important. But also they are prominently on the minds of our citizens, so they need to be addressed. China, of course, is a systemic challenge, while Russia is the most direct and significant threat to Euro-Atlantic security. So terrorism as important to our citizens. So all those issues will be covered in these meetings.
We have seen disrespectful. We have seen disrespectful comments about European allies made by US in a leaked signal chat. Why do you still believe the United States are a reliable and trustworthy ally?
Because they are. I mean, we all use sometimes rhetoric that not necessarily reflects the actuality of relationships that we have. Having friends for America is as important as for Europeans having strong friends and having those relationships. In Latvia, we are pretty straightforward. We spent currently 3.7% of GDP for defense. We spent on top of that, about 1% for supporting Ukraine. Quarter of that is military assistance. But we also invest a lot of resources in internal security, which is another big part, and strengthening the eastern border of NATO and the EU. We do that because we take security seriously. And of course, when we see that others don't, there are countries that don't even reach 2%, we feel we are paying also for your security. That's not okay. So we actually support US calls for more defense spending from those European allies that don't step up.
Friends, but there's a war like at the border of Europe, and the US wants Europe to take care of their own security and also about the peacekeeping in Ukraine all by itself. So how does that feel? Doesn't the US let you alone there?
It's much more complicated than that. So I mean, I understand your comments, but it's more nuanced than that. The interest of keeping peace and security, it's a common interest. There is no difference between the US and Europeans or Canadians and Europeans that peace for the whole Euro-Atlantic area is extremely important. And throughout NATO's history, we have seen different stages of how we have responded to various situations. Today, we don't have the luxury to decide whether we want to participate in a certain operation or not, because the threat is against Euro-Atlantic security. As you said, the war is in Europe. So quite clearly, Europeans need to step up, maintaining very close transatlantic bonds, understanding US assessments, where China features much more prominently than in European assessments. So that is a reality, and we have always been able to cover those differences. So there are differences of opinion. It's about how we manage them, and we have always been able to manage them. So we'll be able to manage them also this time.
What assurances did you get from Secretary Rubio about the US's future in the alliance?
And it's not only Secretary Rubio. Across the board, it's pretty straightforward that commitment to NATO is unshakable. NATO should become stronger, more lethal, more united. And again, defense spending prominently comes up that there is a requirement to finance the defense plans that we have, finance the force structure, finance capabilities that are indicated in those defense plans that allies are not delivering. So it's not just abstract percentage, it's for concrete defense plans, for concrete capabilities that we all need. Thank you.